It's one thing to want to try to fire your players up, but I'm setting my targets. I'm putting JJ Redick in the crosshairs here because I kind of I was a very vocal critic of his earlier in the season when the Lakers were struggling and they couldn't find chemistry and they weren't playing good enough defense. And not all the problems of this team are on Rob Pelinka, the GM. He's responsible for some of them. They still have not built a good roster here in the last couple of years. They have tried to basically just take the shortcut and be the Lakers and throw some money at it. And again, I hesitate to give Rob Pelinka a ton of credit for pulling off the worst trade in the history of sports on the Dallas Mavericks because literally Nico Harrison was like, yeah, you want Luka for Anthony Davis and a bag of peanuts and 1 first-round draft pick? Yeah, sure. Yeah, take them from us. It's like, do you even give Rob Pelinka a ton of credit for that? They're under new management, under new ownership now. And it's not all JJ Redick's fault, but I just don't think he's the right coach for the LA Lakers. I don't. And last night, again, I understand you're trying to fire up your team. I think there is something to be said about pros knowing that they're walking into the Lions' den when they play the Oklahoma City Thunder and they're missing basically their entire team and they're injury depleted. And you're not expecting a miracle. You're not expecting to win the game, but you're definitely expecting more. I wouldn't even say effort, just more execution than what the Lakers gave you. But what did you really expect? So last night, JJ Redick, he basically goes like scorched earth. He goes like AAU baseball coach, like the one that, like calls you, a sissy in front of your parents in the outfield after a game. I've been there before. Trust me. I've had many coaches like that. It feels like JJ Redick is the NBA version of that. That if you don't play well, even though you might be giving good effort, but if you're not executing, you're going to get reamed out, you're going to get ripped, you're going to get benched, and you're going to get called, curse words that a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old shouldn't be hearing. And again, I feel like JJ Redick is the NBA version of that. Last night, he yanks Rui Hachimura out of the game in the first 2.5 minutes. It's like, okay. Like, really? Like, this isn't high school. This isn't AAU. Then he yanks Jared Vanderbilt just like 2 minutes after he puts him in the game. And trust me, I've watched a lot of Lakers games lately, and especially some garbage time, because there was plenty of garbage time in both the games they've played the Thunder. And they crushed the Wizards a couple of weeks ago or a week ago. They crushed the Nets. They beat the Pacers. So Jared Vanderbilt's a guy, he's not a household name. He's up until these Luka and Austin Reeves injuries. He's not a guy that's going to play a ton meaningful minutes for the Lakers, but he's a guy that gives a lot of effort. And not only is he a guy that gives a lot of effort, Jared Vanderbilt is a guy that also is a good glue guy to have on the team. He's a good glue guy to have on the team because the other incident that involved JJ Redick was, what was it, about a month and a half ago? When he has a little altercation with Luka Doncic where he kind of grabs him by the wrist and Luka swats him away. And then they're clearly arguing about something. And Luka turns around like he's going to go continue the argument. And Jared Vanderbilt stands up, gets in the way of Luka Doncic, like very nonchalantly, like playing peacekeeper. I think from the Lakers games I've watched this year and how I followed this season, and shout out to our video producer, Michael Montgomery, Monty. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Twitter right now, you can see that I guess you would call argument between JJ Redick and Luka. JJ Redick comes over and he's basically talking down to Luka Doncic, and then he walks away. Luka goes up, he's going to continue it, and Jared Vanderbilt, he's like, all right, come on, let's calm down. And Jared Vanderbilt's a guy that, again, in garbage time, he's been getting in, he's showing effort. He's playing the right way. And JJ Redick yanks him out of the game 2 minutes after he puts him in. And Jared Vanderbilt, because this went viral last night, he confronts JJ Redick in the timeout when he got subbed out, and he's basically, I think he's chirping at him like, what are you doing? What the hell are you doing here? And JJ Redick's just like ignoring him. He's drawing up his play on the whiteboard like he's some freaking genius. He basically is just ignoring him. And then after the game, he got asked about it, and he goes, yeah, he reacted, but, it was pretty normal for me. I'm JJ Redick. I used to do a podcast with LeBron, and now I have, I show off my sleeve tattoo, and I know better. I know more basketball than anybody. He just comes off as such an arrogant jerk. And then he basically threw half the team under the bus. It's DeAndre Ayton. We just got to work on him catching the ball because he can't really catch the ball. And, Rui just didn't like the way that, he was doing things. And they asked him, one of the reporters specifically asked him, they're like, oh, well, what about Jared Vanderbilt? What about that altercation or that little argument you guys had? And he's like, well, it was a confluence of things. It was a confluence, it was a confluence of things. And they're like, well, specifically, what wasn't he doing that made you take him out of the game? He's like, oh, I don't know, man. It was a confluence of things. Yeah, couldn't answer. Couldn't actually give an answer. Like JJ Redick last night, your team is depleted with injuries. You're gonna get your ass kicked sometimes in the NBA, especially in today's NBA, where if you're not hitting your threes, I mean, it turns into a 20, 30-point game at halftime. And the Thunder, they were hitting their shots. But JJ Redick's like, ooh, I'm JJ Redick. I'm the big tough guy. I think I'm coaching AAU, so I'm gonna make an example out of you guys. I'm gonna make a statement. I'm gonna try to fire you. Like, I don't know if he's trying to fire them up, but I'm gonna pull you from the game. Oh, you didn't box out on one play? You're out of the game, and you're not going back in. I'm the coach, and I know everything. And I'm gonna get you guys to play this game the right way, one way or another. Like that is the vibes JJ Redick gives, and ultimately, it's not going to end well for him. It is not going to end well. I think it was honestly earlier this season too, when the Lakers, they lost like 2 or 3 games in a row in one of the first 2 weeks of the season. And I'm trying to remember what this stretch it was. I think it was early December, and I think they had lost 3 games in a row. They were 19-10. It might have even been earlier than that. I don't remember the exact date, but I do remember JJ Redick saying something like, I'm not going to put up with this crap for another 54 games or whatever. I'm not doing this crap all year. And it's like sometimes you got to just know when to tone it down. And if you want to say these things to to your team behind closed doors, you got every right to. But JJ Redick, for a guy that was a broadcaster, for a guy that was sipping on wine with LeBron, doing their podcast, and then he becomes LeBron's coach, and for a guy that played the game at a really high level for a long time and understands what it's like to be a coach and how to build camaraderie and get the backing of the locker room, I think he pushes all the wrong buttons. I really think he does. And specifically, his relationship with Luka Doncic, I don't know how great it is, but I can guarantee you, if it comes down to JJ Redick or Luka Doncic, it's JJ Redick whose ass is on the street packing his bags, and he can look to do his next podcast, or he can maybe, rejoin the ESPN broadcast team because they need somebody to replace Michael Malone, who just got the job at UNC. Maybe JJ Redick would be better off then, and then he can rip anybody he wants, and he can try to be this big tough guy. I'm kind of sick of his act. I'm sick of JJ Redick's act. And it's a shame. It's a damn shame that the Lakers have suffered these catastrophic injuries here at the worst possible time with Luka and Austin Reeves. Because I really wanted to see them whole in the playoffs. I wanted to see how far they could go. I wanted to see if they could win a rematch first-round series against the Minnesota Timberwolves, or if they got matched up with the Houston Rockets. They would have been favored, and they should have taken care of business in that series because Houston doesn't have a point guard. They've been, trying to have Amen Thompson do it all year, and he's done an okay job, and they're having KD run the point at some points, but they're an incomplete team since Fred VanVleet tore his ACL. And if the Lakers got into a series with the Rockets and they lost it, it would have been an embarrassment. And if the Lakers got into a series with the Timberwolves, who smacked them around last year because they just out-physicaled them and embarrassed them, and they lost again, it would have been embarrassing again. And I really thought that if the Lakers were whole and they suffered a first-round exit, it might have cost JJ Redick his job. And I wanted to see how this team would play under him. And I wanted to see his coaching management, his X's and O's, his game plans, his bench management, the rotations. I really wanted to see JJ Redick prove how good of a head coach he is. Because he talks as if he's one of the greatest head coaches that has ever lived. Everything he does is right. Comes out, from this moral superiority, this arrogance. What has JJ Redick won as a coach? Nothing. He's won absolutely nothing. And again, he's been put in some tough circumstances. Totally get that. But you also have Luka Doncic on your team, who dragged the Mavericks to the NBA Finals a couple years ago, took them to a conference finals with much less talent than what he has around him now with the LA Lakers. And I get it's not easy to manage, the what feels like the end of the line, the end of the tunnel here for LeBron in his Lakers career. And he's going to be a free agent at the end of the season, but he's good friends with LeBron. But also, all right, you got to get Bronny in the game because it's LeBron's kid. You got to play the favorites here. Hey, at least, JJ Redick, if he coached AAU, he would actually do that well because a lot of that is daddy ball. So he'd have no problem playing Bronny if this was AAU. But the more and more I see of JJ Redick, the more and more I see how he manages this team, how he talks about his team, how he talks about his players, how he treats his players, the more and more turned off I get. The more and more I think he's not cut out for this job. And I feel like he's going to get a pass now if they get bounced in the first round because how could the Lakers ever win a series with no Luka and no Austin Reeves? Oh, hey, if it turns out Luka comes back for game 5 and Austin Reeves comes back for game 4, but it was just too little too late. Oh, what could have been for the Lakers? That is going to be the easy way out for JJ Redick. And I think he's going to get a pass. I think he's going to be back next year and LeBron will be elsewhere. And we'll see what Rob Pelinka if Rob Pelinka's still around, which I don't know if that's a guarantee, but we'll see what this front office can do now that they will be solely building around Luka Doncic. And hopefully they realize, like the teams did in Dallas, Nico Harrison, for as much crap as we all give him, rightfully so, he did do a pretty decent job of building a team around Luka that is catered to Luka. You have the rim running bigs and you have wings that can shoot. But I'm sick of JJ Redick. I know a lot of people were sick of JJ Redick the first day he got the job. But it's too easy for him to just get a free pass here for a first-round exit this postseason. And I don't think him calling out his players is good for the Lakers in any way, shape, or form. I think it's actually detrimental. I think it's harmful to team chemistry. I think you're going to turn a lot of the end-of-the-bench guys off. I think you are you're risking fracturing the team. And again, without Luka and without Austin Reeves, it don't matter because they're not doing anything without those guys. So maybe after this summer, maybe with some new faces on the team next year, maybe JJ Redick can then try to repair the relationships that I think he's hurting with some of the, on the floor, not so key members of this team. Rui Hachimura is a pretty damn key member. DeAndre Ayton, they signed him to be a pretty key member. There was no reason. As funny as it is, and look, and as soft as DeAndre Ayton is, and as much as a bust he's largely been for most of his career, you don't need your head coach saying, well, we got to work on, DeAndre Ayton catching the ball because he's been having trouble just, catching the ball. It's like you're not helping. You're not helping things. Talking about your players like that. No diplomacy. And just this arrogance that JJ Redick exudes, it really rubs me the wrong way, man. So I root for Luka. And not that I root for the Lakers, but I really wanted to see what they would be like with a full playoff team, with a healthy team, getting on a nice run here at the end of the season. And we're not going to see it probably, unless we get some miracle recoveries from Luka and Austin Reeves. And JJ Redick's probably going to be back next year. And it would have been even sweeter, I think, for me, if they were fully healthy and they did get embarrassed in the first round again, because then he probably could be deservedly fired for it. And I just think we're delaying the inevitable. I don't think JJ Redick is ever bringing the Lakers to an NBA title, or even close for that matter.